We're still at the Big Bob's convention. This is the 20th, actually, the 20th annual convention. I'm with Vinnie Virga, the newest, or at least one of the newest members of Big Bob's. How are you?
I'm doing terrific, thank you.
These are some unique conventions. You talk as much as anybody else almost, and I think the idea being that everybody participates.
Everyone has a voice. The best idea wins here. It's a very nice format.
Vinnie, let me go back to the basics. You had been the president of Flooring America. You are now, you probably have more stores now at this point than most anybody else, at least almost anybody else. Talk about the decision you made to come with the Big Bob's organization.
Well, it was an easy decision for us. We looked at all the competitive opportunities that were out there, and we had done a lot of research and learned that customers were becoming value-oriented. And Big Bob's Flooring Outlet by far is the best choice if you're trying to appeal to a value-oriented customer. And the results speak for themselves. You know, our stores are doing terrific. We can't open them fast enough. And it really works well. It's cost efficient, and it's extremely profitable.
Now, you chose not to do a full-service store as opposed to this. Talk about that decision.
Well, we are full service in a way because we offer labor for those customers that want it or cash and carry for those who don't. And we have a mix. It's interesting. We're probably, blend, it's probably 50-50, but it's really different by product category. But what we do is customers have a much lower expectations of a value company when it comes to installation than they do of a traditional retailer. And therefore, we find that we exceed their expectations all the time, which is a wonderful way to do business. And then we have a lot of cash and carry. So for those customers who want to install their own wood, their own laminate, their own vinyl, you know, we're certainly happy to help them get the right information and products and supplies and do that work as well.
It wasn't so many years ago that if you said you were a cash and carry store, the clientele you would get would be less than it is today. I'll just say it that way. I guess the recession has changed that a good deal. And that's changed the people that walk through your front door, I guess. Talk about that, and if that surprised you at all.
Well, it's interesting. Our average customer is probably the same that a full-service retailer sees. It's a woman ages 35 to 65 years old, household income $65,000 to $200,000 a year. Our average ticket's $1,200. So we get very high-quality customers. They're just looking for value. And, you know, I think there's a great market for full-service, what I'm going to call mid to upper-tier retailers, many who I knew in my former life. I think there's a great market for a value play like us. I think there's a market for 800 numbers. I think there's a market for home centers, and there's also a market for wholesale. Those are each separate tranches. But it's the same customer who will go into each of those different units for different parts of their home. It is. And if you talk to some of the retailers who have multiple different formats, they'll track the same customer coming into each of their operations, buying different things based on their experience or what they're doing. But what really struck me back when I first started doing this was there was a lot of customer research that said because of the downturn that ended, if you will, or is just starting to end now, but that started in 2007, customers' buying habits would change not just for the short term, but the closest thing we have to what we just went through was the Great Depression. And those people changed for the rest of their life and actually changed the buying habits of their children.
I can vouch for that.
Right? So it became very much more difficult to manage money, much more challenged about making sure they pinched a penny, much more frugal, and that's happened to many customers today. Now if you look at the Gen X and some of the millennium people coming up, they don't value brands as much as they used to. They're much more frugal. So you have a couple of generations coming up into our marketplace that are going to be looking for value. So it's a great place to be, a great time to be Big Bob's.
Now, take your area in the Northeast. I'm sure a lot of stores went out of business during the recession. You came in, value-added, cash and carry business. You took business away from somebody. Are you taking it more away from the full-service, higher-end organization, or the big box players, or other value-added cash and carry operations?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. Part of our business is cash and carry. So part of it we're taking from lumber liquidators. We take some from the home centers for sure. We take a little bite out of the 800 numbers because we do offer shop-at-home service. And we take a pretty good bite out of traditional retailers. They're nowhere near as competitive as we are, at least in our marketplace. We do pretty well up against them. So I think we've taken a little bit of share from everybody, honestly, in our model. And that's worked out well for us.
Now, you've done some rapid growth. You have 3 stores as we speak. You've been in business, what, a year and a half?
That's right.
Something like that?
Yeah. About to open our 4th on Labor Day.
I heard that, and I suspect the 5th and 6th.
The 5th is right around the corner.
And I realize this is not a plan that you made up, on the way to the, on the way to the program here. But are you a little bit tense about growing too fast?
Well, it certainly is a balancing act between growing too quickly, but also not missing out on the opportunities. We get, one of the things I would say to any retailer out there today, if you have any inklings about growing, now's the time. We get real estate deals today that I've never seen in my adult life, whether they be leases or purchase, or leases with options to purchase, or buying real estate. We just closed on a property in January. The day we closed, the property appraised for $150,000 more than we paid for it at the closing table. When is that going to happen again? So if you're thinking about it, if it's a twinkle in your eye, now's the time to do it, because in 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I don't think the same deals are going to be there, and we're going to slow down if we can't get the right deals.
Well, like it's Dave Aluchar, I think, in opening this meeting, talked about the perfect storm. Mm-hmm. The deals. Money is available at a cheaper cost, and certainly the manufacturers are able to, more than able. And I guess he also mentioned that people are available for probably less money than it would have been. But that's still the hard part, is finding somebody that can manage that store for you, I suppose. Is that the hardest part of this transaction?
It's certainly one of the more important parts. I mean, we're finding there's a lot of high-quality candidates out there looking for work. And we actually have them reaching out to us, so we're in a very enviable position that I think a lot of other people would be right now. But again, over the next couple of years, as labor markets improve, that labor market's going to tighten up, and it's going to become more challenging to get good people. But right now, there's a lot of good people, and rates are incredibly low for mortgages or for making purchases. And even though they've gone up a little bit most recently, they're still, when you look historically, the rates you can buy buildings at today, or access to capital today, is unbelievably cheap.
How many stores are we going to see ultimately up in the Northeast that you're running?
My brother and I, who's my business partner, we plan right now on opening 30 in total. So we have big plans, and we'll probably be as many as 13 to 15 in the next 2 years.
I talked with Dave Aluchar and Scott Perrin, chairman and president of this organization. They were talking about their growth plans. And I guess, I don't know the time limit necessarily, but I think it was 125 members and 250 stores and $500 million in sales. Where do you see this organization ultimately being? I mean, it seems like its time has come. It's certainly, as you mentioned, the perfect storm. The market is ready. How big can this organization become?
Well, I think it could become very big. I mean, clearly at 250 storefronts, 125 members, and $500 million in purchases would be a very nice size. And I think they'll be there a lot sooner than most people realize. It's the best kept secret in the industry. And I think a lot of retailers right now are probably getting hammered on the head by a lot of different groups that want them to join. And, if they looked at this group, I think they're going to find out pretty quickly it is their best option for probably 90% of them.
You're the best salesman, I think.
I don't know if I'm the best salesman, but I'm probably their best and most happiest customer.
Vinnie, thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
We've been talking with Vinnie Virga. We're at the Big Bob's 20th annual conference in, where are we? We're in Kansas City, and this is Top Floor TV.